Okay, good evening, everybody. Thanks for signing in and registering to an update on the England Athletics Talent Pathway. So just a bit of an overview for this evening. So we'll do introductions in a second, and then we're going to have a bit of an overview of the Athletics Talent Pathway within England and wider United Kingdom. And then what we're going to do is go through the youth talent program in a little bit more detail. Same with the junior talent program, and then we're going to give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions at the end. However, if you do have questions as we go through, just stick them in the chat box and we'll jump in and out as required. This will be recorded and will be put on Athletics Hub as soon as it's edited. So just for your reference, but then I know there's going to be a lot of people later on that are coaching this evening because eventually we're back to almost normality. So yeah, if you don't get you not have an opportunity to ask a question that you do have, please just reach out to one of us three or one of my colleagues as the other event group leads, and we'll do our best to support you. So, introductions first. So my name is Nick Ridgeon. I know it says on there that I'm called Spencer Duval, but I'm definitely called Nick Ridgeon. I'm the co-project lead for the Youth Talent Programme alongside Darren Wagner, but I'm also, my main job is England Athletics event group lead for the throws. So Martin, do you want to introduce yourself and your role?
Sure. Thank you very much, Nick. My name is Martin Rush. I'm head of coaching and athlete development at England Athletics. I've been in that role for about 5 years. Prior to that, event group lead for endurance, and did some time from 2008 within British Athletics on the talent pathway as it existed then. Ex-athlete, ex-teacher, and current member of Team Bath AC.
Nice.
Thank you. And Dan?
Dan Wagner, Performance Pathway Manager for British Athletics. My role currently is to work with the British Athletics World Class Programme and the Home Nations to help support and implement a consistent and collaborative talent pathway to help identify and confirm athletes for and support coaches on their journey to hopefully fulfilling their potential on the senior stage. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Okay, great. I don't know whose dog that is, but I was having a lovely time and listening about the athletics pathway. Yeah. So first up, I think Dan's going to give us a bit of an overview of the talent pathway within England and the United Kingdom.
Sure. So fundamentally, the talent pathway is there to provide opportunities, experiences, and support for developing athlete and coaches to hopefully fulfill their potential and ultimately achieve success on the international stage. Really exciting time to be part of athletics now. Unfortunately, or hopefully now people are out there competing and obviously training consistently, but through the publication of the Athletics Nation Strategy, there's a real clear collaborative effort with British Athletics and the Home Nations around a number of different mechanisms to drive the sport forward. And one of those key areas is talent development. So the pathway is there to try and provide us kind of safe, transparent experience, but then opportunity for athlete and coaches to develop along that journey, developing from clubs all the way through to the international stage. As you can see in how we've laid out that in that diagram there, real critical point to make is the number of routes that there are to the top. So fundamentally, British Athletics, the Home Nations and England in this case, and the clubs kind of operate in tandem and as an effective partnership, because we're conscious that athletes will develop at different rates at different stages. So there are programs along the way for athletes and coaches to engage with that hopefully will add value, guide, support, challenge through those critical development years. And we're conscious, development isn't linear. So athletes will develop at different rates early on, later on, but there are programs there to help guide and support on that journey from youth talent to junior talent, all the way to the senior program, British Athletics Futures program, and then ultimately into hopefully a world-class program athlete with British Athletics, or even just an athlete who is professional themselves. So the pathway programs are there to effectively guide and add value and hopefully collaborate there with the clubs to provide positive experiences along the way. And as you can see there through the black arrows there's multiple entry and points along that system as well. Also, alongside that, a key part of British athletics and England athletics and other home nations work is to provide competitive opportunities along that journey. So you see through the middle there, the development programs, which is focused on adding key skills and around technique, around physical preparation, around psychosocial, around coaching. But then also there's a competition pathway there to help provide that international experience to compete competitively against other nations, but then just try and provide an experience of ultimately what the journey will be like as they progress into a senior Commonwealth, European, World, Olympic athlete. Critical to add as well. The pathway there's also a parallel pathway for Paralympic athletes as well. I suppose the slight nuance and slight difference is not necessarily that it is relevant to age groups, because we're conscious the Paralympic pathway, people will come in at different ages and different stages. However, through the Youth Talent Programme, we do offer the opportunity for Paralympic athletes to come through that program as well, and we'll collaborate with Sarah Benson, who is the Paralympic equivalent of myself. So there are programs available for them, but we also try and provide, where possible, opportunities through the programs we're about to talk through in a minute. Just a little bit further on the Youth Talent Programme. So previously that was the ACE programme, and that was managed by British Athletics. However, as we're working, and as I mentioned, that collaboration with the home nations, the ACE programme has moved into Sport England and the governance under Sport England. So we have looked to try and position that firmly with England in their pathway. And also because of the age and stage and the connection with the clubs, it's best that England Athletics are working and developing that programme alongside them. So it's a great opportunity to work with those guys on that. Next slide.
Dan, do you want me to chip in?
Is there anything else that you would like to add to that in terms of England perspective?
Yeah, I think it is worth mentioning, if you like. Maybe it's just I've been in the sport an awful long time, but from 2001 to 2008, we did have a talent pathway or a talent strategy that was very much athlete focused, regional squads, that sort of delivery mechanism out of, I think it was 9 performance centres. And I was actually based at the Bath Performance Centre as a regional performance manager and coach. And then from 2009 through to 2017, 8 years, we switched away from, if you like, athlete focus to a very strong coach focus with the national and local coach development programs. And where we've been going since 2017 is essentially to pull it back into almost the middle. So having recognized we did an awful lot directly to coaches, with the aim that those coaches obviously work with their athletes and the athletes get better. And previous to that, an athlete focus, pull it back to the middle where we've got a coach and athlete focus. And that's definitely where we are. But that also does mean that we're in a slight sort of transition phase through these 4 years. British Athletics have definitely increased the strength of their team in the talent area. Much greater connectivity between England Athletics, British Athletics, and the other home countries as well. And that's a really good working relationship. And the Active Nation document that sort of like says, you know, the home countries are working together is really, really, I think, exemplified by this area of talent. So yeah, definitely where we're heading is this coach and athlete, or athlete and coach pathway, where we're making sure that we're supporting that partnership, that pairing that we recognize is so important, and trying to build communities of practice, trying to build support around those individuals to make sure that essentially they get the support development they need. They can reach out to an individual and help them progress through this pathway.
Yeah, great point.
Okay. Thanks for that. And I think so that kind of links into the next point we're going to go through now. So a little bit more of the philosophy around the underpinning of what we're trying to do with the pathway. So if Dan's going to talk us through that.
Yeah, and then guys, jump in if you want to add any additional points. So in terms of the philosophy around the structure that we've just talked through, there is fundamentally moving from not just looking at performance, time, distance, height, but broadening that out to looking at key areas of potential that underpin that performance. Because we're conscious, really important to try through those development years, really develop those underpinning areas of technical, physical, psychosocial, lifestyle capabilities to hopefully sustain long-term and successful senior performance. So the programs that the athletes move through with their coach, and whatever level they do come in, we're really keen and hot on making sure that we try and focus and guide that preparation around those key areas of potential. And that will be through the way some of the programs are set up, through education avenues, but also how they are profiled and provided feedback on. So there really is a focus to like long-term potential rather than just their current performance and now, and it'll just help athlete and coach, but then also the areas of support, understanding that individual, what their needs are, and what are the kind of low-hanging fruit in terms of their development potential. And it also gives the opportunity of athletes and coaches to highlight some of those great capabilities they may have outside of just performing at a competition. So a lot of the pathway programs that we're working on, and England Athletics developing as well, is to ensure those key areas of potential are developed and not, focusing trying to hit times and kind of key qualification points. It's really trying to focus on developing a holistic athlete and guiding that coach in the support around their environment.
So a little bit more around the youth talent program.
Yeah.
Dan, do you want to go through this?
I think there's one more slide, Nick, before that.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of that program journey, so we've evolved it over a number of years and really trying, as Martin had said, developing it from this program originally was purely focused towards the athlete under the ACE program, but we're trying to move it back into that middle dial, so athletes and coaches are both supported, and try and make sure that the environment that an athlete and coach comes into is a kind of practical training environment and is adding actual value to their current support system. So fundamentally, we look to try and do that through support of their individual athlete plan. So what are their objectives for the season? What are the key areas that they're focusing on? Where are their gaps that they may have through their current training practice, or where are the areas they may be not focusing on? The program's there to try and identify and add value to those areas. And there'll be a support structure through a England Athletics talent coach, and also a program lead who'll be there to facilitate and guide those athletes and coaches along that journey. And they'll also, through workshops which are focused towards coaches, focused towards athletes, and also parents, help provide education around those key areas of potential that we discussed earlier, and just try and provide some critical information relative to that age and stage. So that program is working across a 2-year, don't like to call it curriculum, but like a framework of development. And there'll be workshops and experiences that along the way that will help just guide and support those athlete, coach, and parent. There'll also be performance support sessions, so with psychology, with nutrition, and it's there to help facilitate a discussion around some just basics around those areas, and also strength and conditioning as well, and just try and provide some dialogue around where they're currently at with their coaching plan, and provide one-on-one sessions to identify where they may want to work on specific areas. And there's also national training and mentoring opportunities. I think, Nick, if I'm right in saying you're calling them communities of practice?
Yeah, so we're having national event-specific days when they'll get the coach and athlete pair will get an opportunity to work with some talent event leads around the technical aspects, more specific aspects to that athlete. So they'll cover a lot of the general athletic development type stuff and wider holistic development as part of those regional centres. Then they'll go to the national event specific day, and they'll spend a lot of time going through technical excellence frameworks, but then also physical excellence that's linked to the event specific requirements or the event group specific requirements of that event. And then it might be that they look also through the key sort of, again, event group specific psychosocial bits that might be tailored to it. So for example, in the throws, looking at pre-throw routines, how do you handle that, and then giving them some practice opportunities to do some competition style environments with other athletes that are on the program and their personal coaches as well. So just kind of looking at that sort of more holistic, but the national event specific training days will be run by the talent event lead, so the coach will get really good opportunity to sort of work with them, have a dialogue with them and about the athlete that they're supporting, but also outside of that to try and give them some time, whether it be through the communities of practice or just email, phone call with that person individually if that's where they'd feel more comfortable, but a time to get some mentoring from that talent event lead.
Yeah, and really important, I suppose, just to highlight even from that icon is those additional coaches who are working on the program are there to kind of help and support athlete and coach and provide an added support team to deliver around those key areas, but then to challenge and provide a learning environment for both of those where it specifically is needed. And the final part as well, and it's a critical, I suppose, thread of the pathway, is try and provide that dual career pathway. So athletes aren't just progressing through and purely focusing on their athletics. They're actually creating and developing a life outside of athletics as well. If they're so at the end of the YTP, in the background there's the diploma in sport and excellence. So if they complete the necessary requirements across the 2 years of the program, they will get a qualification, which does amount to, and I need to double check it, we'll make sure that it comes up on the publication which goes out, but I think it's roughly 50 UCAS points that goes towards completing of the qualification. So if an athlete is looking to move further onto further education, higher education, then this program will help along that journey as well. And also, just to mention around our talent hubs, we have this is a core part of the first tier within those talent hubs in Leeds and Birmingham. So it's actually connected through to a university program already in Leeds and Birmingham, and hopefully as that talent hub structure will evolve, there'll be more environments across the England and hopefully the UK that will have a base layer of this program connected to, if that's the route that an athlete wants to choose. But I think even if an athlete doesn't want to move on to the further education, hopefully they would have gone through a number of different modules and areas that we should talk on to the next slide that will help prepare them for the next stage where they're looking to move into a different career path as well.
I think just to pick up on your point around transitions, obviously that's going to be really key as to where they go at the end of this 2-year program. I think, and the other bit to sort of pick up on as well is in terms of what's available for that coach, or the coaches that are involved with it. So I think one of the key areas we want to try and really promote this year is that it's, yes, the athlete is recruited onto the program, but we're trying to recruit athlete and coach partnerships, and as well as the national event specific training days where they'll get access to the talent event leads and work alongside other coaches that have athletes on this program. There's opportunity to get movement skills 1 and 2 online, and also access your event group online modules and online integration days as well. So there's lots of opportunities for the coaches to gain qualifications, as well as like formal qualifications, as well as the informal education that they're going to get from working alongside other coaches with athletes on the program and those talent event leads as well. So quite a lot that the coaches can benefit from the program.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I think we're trying to continually evolve that coaching offer, because I think from an athlete perspective, there's quite a rich curriculum there. But I think for the next 2 to 3 years, really trying to develop what the coach does get out of that on top of what Nick has mentioned. So really exciting time to be part of that program.
Absolutely. Just shift us on, Dan.
Yeah, so just as they, through those workshops, through those training days, through the individual athlete planning process and the profiling within the youth talent program, we look to try and focus on a number of key areas that I mentioned there. So technical, physical, tactical, culture, values and behaviors, nutrition, mental skills, lifestyle, career and finance, communication and media, and health and safety. So a number of those areas will be delivered by workshop or online sessions, but then hopefully going into a practical training environment, working with coaches, and some of the sessions that are done more on the ground rather than sat in a classroom. These are the number of areas that an athlete and coach and potentially parent will go through across the course of those 2 years. So quite a rich holistic experience, hopefully for all those involved.
Absolutely. So how do you get involved, I suppose, is the question. So what we've done at the moment is the youth talent program and the junior talent program, which we're going to go on to discuss a little bit further on. They're both going to have a selection criteria. They will both have they'll have an application process that the coach and athletes need to fill in together and input to. We're going to try and base selection on, I know this year has been a bit difficult for obvious reasons, but we're going to try and look at the event profile, but looking into previous years, not just this year as well. And other things like year-on-year progression, how they do in major championships, things like that. We're also looking at technical and physical profiles of athletes. So we ask in the application for input from the coach and the athlete about their technical capabilities, their physical capabilities, all that type of stuff. And we try and draw out as much information around this holistic development to get a really detailed picture of where the athlete and the coach is currently at, how we're best able to support them, and whether they're the right person or right partnership to get involved with this. So how the selection will go ahead. So you'll submit an application form online. We'll give you links and stuff to that application form, but it is via the England Athletics website. The closing date for that's going to be the first Monday of September, so it's going to be 7th of September. We'll then sit as a group, so the BA Pathway lead, England Athletics event group lead, so myself for throws, we've got Shani for speed, we've got Darren Ritchie for jumps and combined events, and we've got Spencer DeBal for endurance, and we will then also sit with the talent event leads that are around us. So I've got a discus, a shot, a hammer, the javelin talent event lead, that we will all sit as a group and kind of work out based on this holistic development, is this the right program for this individual and their coach. So, I mean, there's a lot to read through on that slide. These slides will be available for people to have a look through, and it's also available on the Athletics website if you want to go through line by line. And it does help you complete your application to make sure you're giving us the best possible information on you, so that it kind of gives you the best opportunity to be selected as part of that. Anything either of you two want to pick up on that selection policy before we move on?
Yeah, Nick. It's really, really worth emphasising. Look, we recognise that identifying talent, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of papers and books and videos been released on identifying talent. We know no process is perfect, which is why we're ensuring that the door remains open, and we'll come on to the numbers if you like, and why this. I'm not sure whether we got to the diagram yet. I think, no, we did. On the pathway, it's blocked. It's not a pyramid, which is what everybody's normally focused on when it comes to talent development. We have done it on purpose so that it is a block, and just to really re-emphasize the fact that the door isn't closed on anybody at any time. But at some point, it's we have to make selections, because we can then focus down coaches, athletes, and really give them some extra support. And we felt, looking at a long-term or an older age development sport, that this age is probably about the right place to start that selection. But as I said, that doesn't mean that's the end of any selection.
Absolutely. I mean, Dan's highlighted already the multiple entry points to the pathway. So yeah, definitely.
He did. Yeah.
Cool. So going on in terms of so the process that we're going through. So at the minute, we've had loads of applications in, which is fantastic. So in terms of an update from that, we've had 247 in total applications come through. We've had 67 in endurance, 82 in speed, 36 in jumps, 24 in combined events, and 38 in throws, which is brilliant. We were chatting offline just before this, and this point last year, we were only on 180 or so applications. So we're way, way ahead. So thank you very much for everyone that has applied. And I had a look at those applications. If you're thinking of applying, so the deadline for doing that is the 7th of September. So if you've been waiting to have a few competitions before, so you can write, a better application or whatever, please look at that deadline. Need to get it done by the 7th of September to be considered. So we're still accepting applications. I think we'll get over 300, but we'll see how we go. But yeah, please apply. It needs to be done by the 7th of September. In future years, we're looking at trying to do a profiling day. Obviously, we weren't able to do this as part of COVID restrictions. So if you're watching this thinking, well, I want to be part of this program, but I can't get on it yet, and I should do that in the eligibility, shouldn't I? So you are eligible to go onto this program if your birthday is between the 1st of September 2003 to the 31st of August 2004. So it's athletes that are about to go into sixth form, college, or further training. So they should currently be year 11s. Yeah, so if you are a little bit before that and you're looking at how do you do it next year, we'll probably have the window open at a similar sort of time next year. But hopefully we'll be able to have an opportunity to do a profiling day where we'd come along, we'd look at that wider, that more holistic development, to look at it from a technical point of view. We'll maybe do some physical aspects of that, looking at some psychosocial, behavioural type stuff as well. Yeah. So go on, Dan, do you want to mention anything on that?
Yeah, and just to add on that, I suppose that's where the concept around the talent hubs are looking to evolve that connectivity with the community and the clubs. So we are starting to have those links earlier on and identifying those kids and working with coaches and clubs to look at who's coming in each year. So the rationale, and that's why the key point of YTP as part of the Talent Hub program, is to ensure there is that connection with the club, and we can understand those individuals that are coming through and within the local area. So that's, I suppose, the long-term view of how we're trying to, identify and work out of bringing athletes into this program on top of, the profiling days, as Nick has mentioned.
Certainly. So then what we'll go on to is we'll look to review the applications and then recruit. So that will get people, so the regional centre staff will invite the athlete coach pairs to come along to an induction. Inductions, we're looking to try and get those for mid-October. So that's sort of the timeline. So key things for that is please make sure you put your submit your application by the 7th of September. And you will look out for an email at the end of September to kind of start get your induction going in mid-October. Okay, so next bit we're going to move on to Junior Talent Program. So Martin's going to talk us a little bit through that. So Martin.
Sorry, just need to take myself off mute. Right, Junior Talent Program. So the idea, and this came about through long conversations, well, not that long conversations, but conversations that saying, okay, where do we think the most impact can be made? And obviously, we've got the 2-year youth talent program supported now by DICE, Diploma in Sporting Excellence. We've got a sort of parallel program that we're morphing into that, the regional days that provides for coach and athlete connection at a more regional level. But then it's this, you leave sixth form and you head off to university or head off into employment or you head off into some form of further education. And that's a key transition for young people where they're potentially moving, they're potentially becoming much more independent for the first time in their lives, and they're potentially heading into an environment where they need more support. So we didn't obviously want to just end a talent pathway at if you like, the top end of sixth form or the top end of school years. We wanted to make sure that there was ongoing support for athletes. So we took the decision actually that we didn't really want to lose anybody from our talent pathway. So essentially around 200 athletes come on at the bottom end of the youth talent pathway. They progress through a 2-year program. So that's 400 or so athletes by the end of year 2. And then the idea was that we would try and retain those athletes onto a junior talent program for the next 3 years. So that in an ideal scenario, and I do use that word ideal scenario, we retain connection with coaches and athletes through a 5-year pathway. And then it goes on, we'll come onto the senior talent pathway as well, with national get-togethers and obviously Commonwealth Games and potentially a world-class focus. But the junior talent pathway is these next 3 years, essentially if you like the university years, but we fully recognize not everybody's at university. Some people off into employment, some people off into other forms of further education or apprenticeships. And so how can we support these athletes? Well, we also know that we're probably not in a position to continue to support to the level that we maybe want to, all 200 athletes that come out the top end of YTP each year. So we're going to have to probably look at some sort of differentiated service. So something that says, okay, these athletes really making great strides. They're at an age now where 19, 20 years of age, they're really starting to perform at a really high level. So we're top end junior going into first year under 23. So they and their coach know what they're about. They've got a huge amount of data that we're collecting on the YTP. For a small cohort, let's support them as best we can. And this is going to be a developing thing. So this is, to a degree, is aspirational. But the more that we can partner with universities, the more finance that we can draw down from bodies like Sport England, other partners like universities, then the more we can hope to support these athletes and their coaches. So essentially, you end up with a differentiated support service program. It's a bit of a mouthful, for 3 years, where you have a small cohort that we really, really try and focus on. But then we're making sure that there is a point of contact, that athletes are doing, if you like, an individual athlete program, a review to say where they are, and the coach is doing that alongside them. And we continue to try and support this coach and athlete pairs through these next 3 years, either through a talent hub university, or through our regional coaching programs, or through our national coaching programs. So these get-togethers of coaches and athletes at a regional level, coaches and athletes at a national level. And for a small cohort of these 200 or so that pop out at the top end of the YTP each year, a much more bespoke program, if you like, where they and their coach are really, we're focusing down and trying to say, okay, how can we help you move these athletes forward so that they're making teams, they're making World Junior Championships top end, or European under 23 championships, European championships, or who knows, early developers are probably heading ahead World Championships, and therefore maybe world-class funding as well. So that's the plan, if you like, around the junior talent program, that we don't lose anybody. We're not a pyramid. We are this block where we end up with 200, 200, 200, 200, and 200 coaches and athletes. But we recognize that we're not going to be able to support everybody. So we're going to have a differentiated service to those people. So we can create coaching networks at a regional level around some of these coaches and athletes. We can create coaching networks at a national level around some of these coaches and athletes. We can profile and track at the beginning of each year. We put on training camps and performance environment, coach support and mentoring through different individuals, but also trying to just encourage people to peer network, if you like, to support each other on their journey. And I think I've covered most of the points there, and hopefully that explains briefly what the JTP is about. One thing I didn't mention there was competition support. So England Athletics obviously do run England teams, and obviously we've got the British Athletics European under 23, European juniors and World Juniors as well.
Just to jump in there, Martin, and shameless plug, there's also the Futures Academy program, which I suppose will take a cohort of 30, which will provide a 2 to 3 year program of trying to transition the best of the athletes that either come through the YTP or maybe on JTP for a year, but looking at trying to transition them onto the senior program longer term. So there's blocks in and around that age group, which is there to add value and transition athletes to the next stage as well. So shameless plug.
So I think one of the key things here is that obviously the work that we're trying to do together with the home nations and British Athletics is that there's going to be really clear selection for that futures program, junior talent program, and the different levels in that. So from an operational, skip us past the one. No, that was right. Yeah. So from an operational point of view, so what timelines for you guys that you need to be aware of? So we will open the application process for the junior talent program on the first Monday of September. So on the 7th of September. So essentially, we've had the youth talent program, which will end in start of September, and then we'll start applying for the junior, and then we will close that the first Monday of October. So it's only a month, so a relatively short window. Hence why we're doing things like this webinar to let people know about it nice and early so that you can get your applications in. Part of that application is we're trying to write so it's aligned to the philosophy that we've already talked about around trying to develop the whole package of a coach and athlete. So it's holistic development. And we've also looked at ways of now, through using that application as almost a draft form of the individual athlete plan, an individual coach plan. So we'll pull that information from that application, then we can start to then work out how we can best support you as a coach athlete partnership. We'll look to review and recruit by the end of October, and then we'll be sending out invites to athlete and coach pairs for the training days, which are like to be in November and March. Obviously, that's got a big asterisk of COVID dependent, but hopefully we'll be fine, and we'll be looking to do that. So yeah, we'll let people know whether they will get an invite for the national training days or regional training days, and what support is available to them at that point. So yeah, key things from this is the selection and the application, will be online from the 7th of September. You'll have a month window to complete it. So you'll need to finish them and submit them by the 5th of October. They'll be a little bit more detailed than what we've put in the youth talent program to really kind of flesh out some of those goals and targets that you've set yourselves as athletes and also as coaches, so that we can provide some better support tailored to you. Is there anything else that you want to pick up on this one, or should I move on to the next slide? Okay, right. So Martin, if you want to talk us through the plan for the senior talent program. Actually, sorry, Martin, before you do that, I totally forgot that I meant to talk about eligibility for the junior talent program. Right, so eligibility, sorry, that's my fault. Eligibility for the junior talent program. So what we're looking to do is try and recruit people that are coming out the top of the youth talent program or have previously been on, that are eligible to compete in under 20s and under 23s next year. So we're looking at athletes that have been born in 1999 through to 2003. You can apply to be on the junior talent program, and then we'll work out which level and which tier that you are best placed on. Sorry, Martin, to interrupt. I'll let you go on to your senior talent program.
No, that's fine. And actually, there's a question from Sarah there in the chat room. Most sports and schools use junior, youth, senior in that order of age. Is there a particular reason junior is being used to describe the older age group? Well, actually, yeah. Sorry, there's a fly buzzing around my head. There is in athletics. Obviously, we use youth as under 17, although under 18 for World Athletics Federation age groups. Junior is essentially 17, 18, 19-year-olds in athletics, and then obviously we have the under 23. But essentially, post junior, you become a senior. It was trying just to, we realized it doesn't quite align with the athletics age groups, the naming that we've gone for: youth, junior, and then senior talent program. But in essence, what we're trying to do is just sort of like provide a simplistic naming, a badging system. And I think the ages will sort of like hopefully over time fall into place. So it doesn't align, we recognize, with the competition pathway exactly. But we're not far off, and it is the athletics naming system, if you like. The youth comes before junior, comes before senior. So that's why we've ended up using those names. Nick, you're on to senior talent pathway. Okay, so the idea of this obviously is that 5 years would be the ideal scenario where we can get, so if you like, almost like call that a developmental program, where we're working with coaches and athletes and we're really sort of taking them forward. Obviously, in some event areas, if you like, the speed event areas or some of the jump event areas where we know that actually the progression can be quite more rapid, then potentially some of those athletes are going to be competing at the top end of our junior talent program in major senior games. But we also recognize that some long developing events, like throws events, like long endurance events, it's going to take an awful lot longer for those athletes to actually get to the very top level. So we needed to put in place a senior talent program. We also have, as England Athletics, have a real focus on the Commonwealth Games, and it's really important that we make sure that we are supporting coaches and athletes, especially given that we've got home Commonwealth Games in 2022 in Birmingham. So that's really exciting, and there will be a merging of the Commonwealth Games support that we've got from Sport England with this senior talent program in the run-up to Birmingham. But it will be a standalone program, and it'll be based around this idea that we want to support coaches and athletes who are competing at this national, international level, England and upwards, at a senior level, who aren't possibly on the world-class performance program. So it's extra support. And what is this extra support? Well, an awful lot of coaches and athletes at this stage in their careers, they know where they're going, they know what they're doing, And in essence, it's about bringing them together. In old terminology, you might call this a squad. I, on purpose, don't use that word because in certain events that became a little bit of a word that was associated with bad practice, shall we say. So this is about getting coaches and athletes together at the same time, that coach and athlete pair as a senior pair to train alongside their peer groups, for the coaches at that national level to really have an opportunity to connect and form a community and really drive their performance onwards. So that's essentially what the Senior Talent Program is about. It's beyond the university years. It's how can we support those coach and athlete pairs to stay in the sport, develop their skills to become a high quality national athlete, supporting their club in club matches at the same time as aspiring to get into England national teams, Commonwealth Games, and obviously major championships as well. And it's also actually thinking about it, this Senior Talent Program, about encouraging those individuals to use their skills to support others coming through, to support athletes in the senior program, maybe to go on and become officials, to maybe go on and become coaches, to maybe go on and become administrators in the future of the sport, for the future of the sport. So this Senior Talent Program is definitely about staying in connection with those coach and athlete pairs beyond the Junior Talent Program. So what do we hope to do? If we can, some of this is quite aspirational, but if we can lever support through the talent hubs, then absolutely we'll be trying to get sort of performance analysis, performance services done out of the talent hubs for senior athletes and coaches. We will organise coach national level coach and athlete training days, not calling them squads, international training camps, and international teams, making sure that we are supporting those senior athletes to go away, represent England, and obviously the other home countries as well. And making sure that they've got access to the British athletics teams as well. And as we said, developing these coaching networks. So the webinar series is the webinar series of coach development activities that we've done over the past, gosh, it's too long, 4 or 5 months, I think it is, has just essentially kicked us up the backside. It's shown us a window that we can connect with an awful lot of people. And we're looking now at sort of differentiating, really trying to differentiate those webinars and say, these are really pitched at this senior talent level, high performance coaches and athletes. How can we support them, develop their knowledge, get a community together? And I know Nick in the throws has got a sort of a group of coaches together to advise on performance metrics, to advise on progressions and technical skills, technical framework. And the other event groups are working along the same lines as well. So this talent program at a senior level is essentially to continue a senior athlete and coaches connection with the sport and making sure that they continue to improve.
Cool. So a little bit around the objectives of why we're trying to do this coach and athlete development sort of together and the approach that we're taking. So if Martin, if you want to go through.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, this connects, if you like, everything that we've talked about. So to share and develop coach knowledge and athlete ability based on the performance factors that we went through beforehand. So this is, if you like, the pitching for the middle ground. So not just totally coach focused, not totally athlete focused. It really is pitching, recognizing that we've got really good coaches and athletes operating in the club environment. It's an opportunity to bring them together like squads, but unlike squads, it's not just inviting athletes to those squads, it's inviting the coach and athlete pairs to 2 days. It's inviting the athlete onto the youth talent program, but making sure the coach comes along with them if they can, staying in contact with that coach and making sure that there's a coach development program as well. It's making sure that the key performance determinants of each event. So as a coach at the beginning of September, October time, I'll sit down with my athletes. I'll assess what we've done in the previous year. I'll assess where we're going in my mind's eye, my knowledge in the background of my head. I know what this athlete is trying probably to achieve if they're a European level athlete, if they're a world level athlete. What are those performance determinants? So we've got people like Nick, like Dan, working away, trying to encapsulate all those into documents. And we'll spread those through these talent programs, through the coach and athlete development programs, so that coaches get more information to base that decision-making, annual planning process, long-term planning process on real determinants for each event about what makes athletes improve and perform. So supporting coaches and athletes. Identifies and prioritises key training objectives. So that's part of that process. What makes an athlete run faster in the 100 meters? So we can break that down into the nth degree, and that will be part of these coach and athlete development days, part of the information gathering that many coaches have already, but we'll share that knowledge among the coaching community. Provide objective data to assess the effectiveness of the program and make appropriate coaching interventions. So that's essentially supporting coaches to really stand back and assess where they are, where their athlete is, how they're approaching those each and every coaching session, but each and every annual plan. What are my key things that I'm looking to move on this year? Well, maybe it's not the physical side at all. Maybe it's actually just their tactical skills of racing 800-meter races. Maybe it's actually their ability to go to university and to look after themselves. So I'm not in that first year of university that bothered. It's obviously I'm still going to try and move the physical capacity on. I'm still going to try and move all the technical capacity on. But actually the key target for that year might be just to get them to settle down, look after themselves, make sure that they're comfortable in their environment so that they can really kick on in year 2 and year 3 of the junior talent program and their years at university. And then final bit there, bringing like-minded and ability coaches and athletes together. So that training as a peer group. I remember many moons ago getting invited down to Aldershot Army Barracks as an 18-year-old to go along to my first national squad as a race walker. And just complete eye-opener. So I was based up in the wilds of the Lake District. So it was a long journey down to Aldershot, I'll tell you. And it was the first time I'd really trained with maybe 15, 20 individuals who were far better than I was, who had far more experience than I had, won Commonwealth Games and European medals as well. So it was a real opportunity, eye-opener for me to just be able to train with those individuals and see, hang on a minute, I'm from the Lake District, hardly any other race walkers there. Here was a group of people who were well above me, really drove me on, took the information back, discussed it with my coach, made sure that the national coach and my coach were talking. And, just as we're setting up the event group leads, the talent mentors, to work with the personal coach to make sure that there is that progression. So that, if you like, bringing like-minded ability coaches and athletes together is really important to this program. Nick, where am I going from here?
So just a bit of an overview of what those national training days might look like. So do you want me to go through this? Or?
Chip in. I think, well, you go through them, but if I just say where we've come from, and this is this development phased change, if you like, from where we were at the back end of 2017, having a real coach-focused national and local coach development program, and then England Athletics putting in place national coach and athlete development days and regional coach and athlete development days. And we're now bringing on board these talent hubs, and it will be a phased program where we try with developing partnerships with more talent hubs to bring these national coach and athlete development days and regional days more into those talent hubs. We're not going to just completely centralize because we don't want to do that. This is going to be a regionalized program. But as we get these talent hubs off the ground, then more of these days are going to be based there, is the plan anyway. It's, I think, really important to say that this is probably, we're looking at 2032 as, if you like, the back end of when everything should be in place. Rather than trying to continually change programs, we put a lot of thought into this and try to actually say, okay, what do athletes need? What do coaches need? It's not just about a coach development program. It's not just about an athlete development program. It is about both. It is about peer group training and getting peers together so that they can aspire and train together and push each other hard, coaches and athletes. And how can we best do that? And at the moment, we haven't got the resource. We haven't got the partnerships in place to say, here are 9 talent hubs. Just go for it. But what we're trying to do is develop those partnerships with the universities and over time, hopefully grow this whole system so that we can support individuals to the level that we really want to. Nick, some of the specifics.
So what that looks like this year is what we're going to try and do is have 3 to 4 training days or 2 weekends if we can this year. So we're looking at trying to have it. So we've got indicative dates there of 28th of November and then 13th of March. So that's where we've earmarked those national coach and athlete development days to be. They're going to be open to all coaches to observe. However, we're going to invite specific coach and athlete partnerships to be involved with that. They're potentially going to be based in Loughborough from a access to a high performance centre. However, that is going to be dependent on the event and the availability, obviously. So the content is going to try and be based around a curriculum for this age and stage of development for the athlete and coaches. However, it's also going to be based around their individual athlete and coach plan. We're going to try and do some testing and monitoring and tracking as part of that. So, for example, from running this year with throws, we went through some OptiJump testing. So we had squat jumps, counter movement jumps, drop jumps, and we fed that data back to the coaches and athletes, so they were able to make more informed decisions around the effectiveness of their training program, and kind of created some accountability that when they knew they were going to do a retest and they want to try and peak at that or perform really well at that retest, we give them some information and support around how to develop it. The other benefits of the National Training Days or National Coach and Athlete Development Days is they're going to be able to access coaching expertise. So yes, the talent event leads that will be leading those days, or the event group leads that will be there as well, but also working with those coaches with the athletes that are on that program. We're going to try and have camp-based support around physiotherapy, performance analysis, video analysis, and some strength and conditioning. And then we're going to try and kind of take these individual athlete plans and individual coach plans to try and really support and try to focus in on their development in terms of what they need. But it's going to be a great, like Martin's already said, a great opportunity to sort of train in a competitive environment with peers. I know certainly within throws, you tend to have big fish in a little pond. So an opportunity to get in a pond with all the other big fish and kind of really like go through the paces, which is really, really good. And those national coaching networks that don't just happen on the weekends, they sort of run throughout the year, and hopefully we'll build the connections between the other coaches in those events. So that is the National Coach and Athlete Development Days. So the overview for the regional Coach and Athlete Development Days. Martin, do you want to give an insight into that?
Yes, really the same principle, but obviously on a regional level, and pitched probably lower down the pathway, maybe in terms of club to national, aspiring to get into the final of a national championship, something like that. Really trying to push athletes on, push performance on, but done on a regional level. So invited coaches and athletes. So this will open invitation, if you like. So we'll advertise these through the website as we did last year. Probably focus at the pre-YTP or the YTP graduates. So it's that slightly younger ages that we're really trying to focus this on. Open to all coaches who observe. 3 training days per annum. There will be variations on this, and I think across the different event groups there'll be a few variations on the national camps as well. 2 to 4 regions. So we have 4 regional coach leads in each of the event groups, and they're tasked with organising these. So again, some of them may join together. So we've got that good community going on where the numbers are maybe not so strong. But some events absolutely will separate them out into North, Midlands, Southeast, Southwest type areas. So there will be some curricular content, making sure that there is, if you like, a pathway, and so that people have some information before they arrive. This is what you're going to get. And then we've got the benefits there. Access to shared coaching expertise is probably the best way. That peer group learning is the best way of looking at that. Coach and athlete development, athlete-centered, coach-led, of course, and training in a competitive environment with peers, which we've discussed. And I think it's so important to motivate, to encourage, and to just open up that sight line to higher levels of performance. That what is possible, and then developing relationships between coaches and athletes. So establishing, if you like, peer networks, so that people can pick up with other coaches from their particular area and continue their learning in their own time. And then finally, the regional coach networks run by the regional coach leads. So sort of monthly webinars where people can join in on a webinar. They don't have to travel at all, and just share experiences, share ideas, And I think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I think each of those is a bit of a theme at the front end, sort of 15-minute type presentations, and then a discussion.
I mean, it varies based on the event or the event group. However, at the moment, the regional coaching networks, I think it tends to be, I mean, web-based, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a webinar like we've got here. There's far more interaction, tends to be through Teams where possible, if not Zoom or whatever, where we can have a lot more dialogue with the coaches that attend. And the other bit on this page, I suppose, to highlight is the training as regional coach and athlete development days will be we'll advertise them through our social media channels as well as our website, but you'll be able to book onto them via Athletics Hub. So if you haven't been registered to Athletics Hub, please make sure you go and do it. It's athleticshub.co.uk, I believe. You'll be able to book on through there. So that is it in terms of presentations. So it's open to you guys in terms of questions. So do you have any questions about the overall pathway within athletics for England and the UK? Ask some questions about that. Or if you've got any questions about the specific programs that are available, whether that's the youth, junior or senior, or is anything that you want to ask more generally whilst you've got us. I might go on to audio view so people can see us a little bit easier. So any questions, fire away. Lots of people are typing. I know we saw some questions in there before about eligibility. So eligibility, you must be able, I think it's British passport, and be able to compete for England and British Athletics and Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I've just put the link onto the England Athletics website, which gives you the youth talent program details. Some of the other material isn't up there yet.
People are typing away, thanking us. So thanks for joining those that are thanking us. Appreciate that. This will be going up online later on, the recording. So if you don't, if you aren't able to answer or ask a question now, we may have answered it. So you can re-watch this later on. But if you still need to ask a question and you can't think of it now, then you can send us an email and we'll get back to you. Is the senior talent program still on an invite basis, i.e. I don't need to apply? Yeah, so good question, Craig. So yes, that is the plan. So on the senior talent program, we'll be inviting athletes and coaches to it. It's only on the youth and the junior where we'll want you to apply. You'll still have to do, or we'll work with you to create an individual athlete plan as part of that. Whereas the individual athlete plan will be generated automatically through the junior talent program application.
I think what we've done in the past with the national coach and athlete days is we've opened them up to national level coaches as well, even if they haven't got an athlete. That's correct, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah. So that observer role, which you mentioned earlier. Yeah. So ideal age for the talent hub. So the talent hub's a different application. Is that right, Martin? Do you want to take that?
Sorry, I was just trying to find the para pathway. Where? Ideal age for talent hunt. Wow, $1 million question. Depends what sport. You could argue there's many different sports within athletics. We've essentially aligned it with the DICE program. We know that athletics can be a quite late developing sport. 16, 17. We know it's very hard to predict where those athletes are going to go, but at some point, if we're going to go down this route of sort of like saying here's a group of athletes and coaches that we're going to support, then we have to make decisions at some point in this pathway, and we've decided actually to rationalise it around the DICE program, which we're calling the Youth Talent Program, because we're adding things into that DICE program as well. But by leaving it open, we're not cutting anybody out who is a very late developer, and we are really aware that this sport, like many other sports, has a big relative age effect. If you're born sort of October, November, December, then you're more likely to end up certainly on a junior team. It's not quite the same when you get to the senior levels. It does even itself out. But yeah, we are aware that selecting at any point means that you're not selecting some people at that same point. But provided we leave the door open so that people can come in later, then we think that we got the best. Not the best. We've got a way through this conundrum.
Yeah, and I think that's where the collaboration with British Athletics and the home countries, and in this instance England, are so important, because I suppose from a British Athletics point of view, as you go further up, it becomes more selective. But because of the way that England are operating and other home nations are operating, is more opportunity for athletes to develop at different rates and stages. So yeah, it's really important that having that that wider base as they go through the development years.
Rob Mann's question is a really, really good one. So this, are all the home nations running similar programs? And the answer is similar, definitely not identical. But I know that John Roberts, the talent director, and Dan here from British Athletics, essentially where we're heading to is that British Athletics, if you like, sets the competencies, sets the framework, and each home country will deliver to that. And there might be some individual variation in the home countries about that delivery method, be it hubs or academies, regional coach and athlete days, or academies in some of the other home countries. But essentially the product, if you like, what we're trying to do, where we're trying to get to, is obviously the same. And the technical frameworks that Nick and others are working on, obviously that's just good coaching and athlete development practice. So there's basic principles that we're applying across the piece.
So there was a question there around ages for the senior talent program, specifically around speed. I assume speed more of an earlier development event, but it'll still be focused on seniors as opposed to 20s and 23s. I know we're in this bit of a change in phase, so there might be some crossover. However, I still think within the speed program that there'll be invites sent out to primarily seniors only, rather than the junior talent program will be 20s, 23s. Just to pick up on your point, Martin, around the technical excellence framework. So I know within Throws, we've done a webinar on each of the technical excellence frameworks, which are not a set in stone document. They're going to be continue evolving as we get feedback from athletes, personal coaches, as we go through, and if any big changes happening within the sport at large. Obviously we try to base it on IAAF or World Athletics biomechanical reports and things like that, but they are a continually evolving thing. The Throws ones I know are available on Athletics Hub if you like to download that and use that as a lens to look at your throwing through. There's also webinars to support it, kind of see it in action with athletes that the talent event leads have used it on and applied for. So, Jen, to pick up on your point around, now you've got a bit more clarity in terms of what we're looking for from the youth talent program, I assume. Jen East might be Ben East's. Yeah, so if you would like to reapply to the program now, you've got a bit more information, that's absolutely fine. All we'll do is we'll just focus on the most up-to-date application. That's fine. We'll just clear that line off in the spreadsheet and then be able to take it from there. So if you would like to reapply now, you know a little bit more about it, which is great. I'm glad that you know more about it now. Please go and reapply. That'll help us get to that target of 300 as well. Okay, is there any more questions coming in through that I've missed? Jen, that's just
good timekeeping. Excellent.
Okay, right then. As the questions have dried up, I just want to thank everyone for logging in. Thank you too for inputting to it. We will send out feedback as part of this. So please, your candid feedback, as always, is really, really appreciated as we look to try and develop the pathway and the support that we provide to coaches and athletes. So thank you very much.